Hey everyone, John Doyle from OptixEQ. We're going to take a look at the Tampa Bay Derby, which is a qualifying race for the Kentucky Derby. You can get some points for this one. It's on Saturday. It's race 11 at Tampa Bay. And we're going to look at the plot here first. It's a plot fit of the yellow, which is okay. It's average. And remember, plot fit determines the kind of predictability of the plot. Contention is sun, and the speed rating is low. So that typically would favor horses that are going to be forwardly placed. So let's look at the horses going to be forwardly placed in this race. So let's see, first of all, how they like to run. So the horses that like to be forwardly placed are the 2, 6, and 7. And you can take a look at the plot, and you can see the number 6 is in red because look at where he plots. So based on his past performances, this horse really doesn't look like he can compete early on. So that, he may try, but doesn't look like he can compete early on. So that really gives the advantage to the 2 and the 7 early on. So we want to take a look at both these horses. From the presser's perspective, the 4 and the 9, way up on the y-axis, that's better. That means the horse gets better second call speed. The 4 is below that and is a bigger circle. So, I'm going to take a look at the 9 there. Kind of going to stay away from the 4 a little bit. Yeah, I know that's the Chad Brown horse, but that horse may have some upside. Maybe we'll take a look at him, but basically the 9 looks interesting. Both these horses, if you look at the standard surface distance plot, they don't plot, obviously, because they've never gone the distance on this surface. Now, the 9 has gone the distance, but on turf. So we'll look at that a little bit more. And then you got kind of the closing horses. The 3 looks like out of it a little bit. You don't want closers that are going to be circles, right? Because they just don't have the relative late pace that you want in a race like this. You want squares if you're going to look for horses to come from behind. So that would be the 8, the 10, and the 1 is a little tricky because this horse actually plots close to the front. So on surface and distance. So we'll have to try to figure that one out a little bit. He plots way deep in quadrant 4. But surface and distance with the 1 race that he ran well. But the thing you have to realize about that 1 race, it was a maiden race. Okay. So the other thing you want to realize, since the pace looks light, they may try and get this horse involved early. So this could be a scenario where you might want to just pay attention to the 1 a little bit more because they may get him involved. But he's got a lot to overcome in terms of, the class jump. So as we get into it, we'll look at it a little closer. I want to take a look at the summary view of the V-bar. Again, this one tells you kind of horses that look like they are strong contenders. Others look like they're kind of eliminations. See the 6 well below on speed and also on plot. The 3 well below on class and plot, a little bit below on speed. So these horses are kind of horses that we probably be looking against. The horse that look and are the favorites that look strong here are the 5, the 7, and let me just scroll over. Oops, let me just clear my drawing here. So the 5 and the 7. The 9 looks okay, a little bit below on plot, just because he doesn't have that, surface distance plot. 10 a little good on speed, but a little bit below on some of the others. So that just kind of gives you a sense of some of these horses that, kind of where they sit in terms of the 3 categories that we're looking at: speed, plot, and class. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the form. So we're going to go over to the grid, take a look at these horses. Let's start with the 1. How do we read this horse? I don't know. Your guess is mine. If you get a 10-1, he's kind of worth a look at, but I don't know. This is a horse that started off in a debut at sprinting in Belmont at Aqueduct. And then real quick switch to the turf. So that's kind of interesting, maybe they had more races that they wanted to stretch out, and that's why they did it. It's hard to tell. Then he came back with a strong effort in a strong race, a B+. Typically, you want to see horses, run this kind of race, are horses that can move to the next level. But to a grade 3, that's a big boost. Maybe the next level allowance, it seems like a big boost, especially with he did come up big in terms of speed figures, in terms of rise. Is there another he's going to need another kick to do that. So it's this one's a little tough. And again, the Maiden Breaker, just so you know, when you compare these Maiden Breaker at Tampa, even though he does have a run over the track and that's good, it's just not the same as a Maiden Breaker for like some of these other horses that maybe started their career in um, Saratoga or something like that. So just it's a below tier track. So the maiden races are just not as strong. Okay, let me clear this out. Let's go to the next horse. Two, ever do it. Um, just this horse just doesn't look fast enough. Did have problems in the Sam Davis, but I mean this horse was 127 to 1 that day. He's going to have to overcome. He's going to have to really improve on some of these earlier races. I don't, maybe he can improve. I just don't know if it's going to be good enough. You see the range here. This is the OptixEQ range. It's going to take what it takes to win this race. So, I mean, he's going to have to really up his game because I think it's going to be closer to that. It's going to be in the 90s. You're going to need at least a 90, low 90s to win this race. It may not be the strongest field, but I don't know. This horse is kind of I'm again. The only good thing this horse has got going from is that the pace is light and maybe he sticks around for a piece, but remotely. Give Me Liberty needs a drop and then gets put into a tough race. So I don't like the spotting here. We talked about this horse being negative on those V-bar settings. Here's the Chad Brown horse. Again, another Tampa winner. This horse could improve. Don't get me wrong, but he's gonna have to really make a step up again to run like low 90s to win this race. If you feel that Chad can really move a horse up that much, and he can sometimes, he's really hard to read, especially in these dirt races. But I see he moves those turf runners up much more than he does on this horse. And let's see, this horse is 15 to 1 in the morning line. He's not going to be near that. I don't think. I think he's going to be much lower than that, just the way they play Chad Brown. Here's one of the favorites that I wanted to take a look at and maybe be negative on a little bit. Domestic Product. It's really kind of, you notice, and this is these turf projections. We just think that this horse might be better on turf. Now, he has been running in graded stakes, 7th in the Remsen, which is a weird race. Don't know how to take that race. It came back and ran really well in the Holy Bull, but not really well because he did finish second. But notice this grit minus and tactics plus. And what that tells me is that this horse had the trip and just couldn't get it done. So if you look at the extended comment, it said climbing early, tripped out and seemed to have all the momentum in the stretch, but could not get by game winner. I think he will be better with surface switch. So we still think this horse might be better on turf. So he may be overrated a little bit and maybe a favorite to kind of play against as you kind of look at this race. He may be one of the favorites you want to look against. Okay. Armed with that information. The 6, this is one of the horses that we kind of look past. The 7, No More Time. This is the other favorite. This horse looks solid, won the Sam Davis. Could be forwardly placed. It's really no knocks on this horse other than the price. Looks like a solid contender. The only thing I noticed is like his figures kind of flip-flopped here. So he kind of ran 83 in his debut, and then we thought he wouldn't improve. So this was going to run. He did improve. And then he kind of, ran a much lower figure, then came back around a figure. Does he kind of have this, does he have another figure where he kind of drops? I mean, whatever. I mean, he just looks solid and nothing to really knock. But again, the price is going to be just too low for us to look at, to figure out how you want to play this. The 8, this is a horse that plots well. He's got a big square, but it looks like his good form happened last year. And so far this year, even though he won optional claimer at Tampa, it didn't look like the strongest of fields, and the figure was low. And then he came back with another low figure around a C effort in that Sam Davis. So, he's facing the winner of that race. I don't see how he kind of like, based on this recent form, what the turnaround is. He just might be a horse that did better racing so far too. If you're kind of like a person that thinks this horse, might improve off, this is maybe consider this maybe third off a layoff, or fourth off a layoff, so be it. Just don't know. This horse don't want to take a chance. And what's the price on him? I think it comes down to price. He's 12-1, so he might be more forgiven, but I don't know. I'm just think his better races were backwards, were before. This is a horse that I thought had some interest. Grand Mo the first. Thought he ran pretty well in the Swale, which was a pretty good race. It was one turn. It was off 118-day layoff. You can see he won his debut at Gulfstream on synthetic, came back and won an option claim right back. Then they put him on the turf at San Anita, better than a looked effort. So we know he can run 2 turns because that was a 2-turn turf race. Came back 1 turn, sharp race, second race off a layoff. If you just project forward, this horse could run 8, 9 points higher, puts him right in the range. Really good price here. Is a horse that I would really consider on even on win end here at especially that he's got that tactical speed. I think even though he was way back on his turf race, I think he's shown tactical speed in the past. So I don't think he could be. He has to be too far off of it. And maybe he gets first run. So I think Grand Mo first is a definite win contender. And then Sturdy is this tricky horse. He hasn't broke his maiden, but he had a better than looked effort. And if you look at the extended comment, this one should continue to evolve. Legitimate stride to work with. Ran spot, early move between the backstretch, seemed to lose a touch of rhythm, foul turn before re-engaging. This horse might have some more potential. That was a first chase off a lot. Now he's coming quick back to this race. Are they showing confidence, or well, what is it? But this horse you want to look at, even if not for this race going forward, and you'd want to consider him underneath, especially because he may get rolling late. He just may be too far out of it early. Post is not ideal. He might lose ground, so you got to kind of watch those things. But that's a horse that I think is an exotic contender here in Tampa Bay. So he's especially at what is he, 8-1? He's another one. So I think the long shots in this race are the 9 and the 10. I'm just, the 8 I'm against, and so I'm against the 5. The 1 and the 7 you can use it, where you want to use them. They're contenders. I just don't have a strong read on them, but I would want to include the 9 in kind of my in all my kind of bets and all slots, as you will, in this race. So that's my assessment of Tampa Derby. Check OptixEQ. We're at OptixEQ on X. And also check our website at OptixEQ.com to learn more about this and learn how to interpret and read the information in optics. Thanks for listening. And good luck in the Tampa Bay Derby.